Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Two-Man Game. As always, we're your hosts, Cone, as well as Ryan. It's been a little while, so Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, dude. Just been watching a lot of college basketball. I'm kind of a fake college basketball fan. Like, I keep up a lot during March Madness, and I kind of keep up with UVA when they're kicking butt, but they kind of made me mad this year, obviously, with how they were
Not the best season.
They were March Madness pretenders, according to everybody, because they were so mad that they got even picked to be one of those first four.
And they showed it in the game, too, that they were
It was crazy. I've never seen a college team so slandered for being a last four in. It was so funny. But yeah, just been watching a lot of college basketball, a lot of baseball, too. I'm a big Yankees fan, as well as Connor, our family are Yankees fans. So we've been really enjoying baseball. The Yankees have looked really good, so that's been fun. I'm wearing a pancake hat. I played a
shout out to Pancake Willie up there on Ryan's hat, the GOAT.
I played a disc golf tournament yesterday, and I ended up winning, which is pretty cool. It's my second tournament win in like the higher division I've been playing in, so that's pretty cool. So I know.
Yeah, go crazy for him in the comments. Go crazy.
I know. And so the Pancake Willie was the sponsor, so I had to represent Mr. Pancake Willie here. So drop a Pancake Willie in the comments if you want.
That's a crazy, just out of context thing to put in the comments. A Pancake Willie.
This podcast, we're like, what the hell is Pancake Willie?
Yeah, drop a Pancake Willie, I guess, in the comments. Shout the GOAT there on Ryan's hat.
So. Nobody who knows what this is will be watching, so that's okay.
Okay,
but,
cool.
Before we dive into today's topic, though, I want to start with a quick little story, which I think is kind of funny because it's relevant because, we're an NBA podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hanging out. Shout out Caitlin. We were hanging out last night watching the Final Four games, right? And so she was telling me about how she's a big college basketball fan, huge Duke fan, all this other stuff, but hasn't really gotten into the NBA like she wants to. And I'm going to probably try to convince her to get into it a little bit, which, by the way, everyone should put down in the comments what team she should root for. Because
let her know. She doesn't have a team.
Exactly.
I'm putting my early bid in for the Thunder. It's a great time to hop on the bandwagon, your last chance. So let her know that that's my thoughts. Drop a bunch of Thunders down below. Well, we have a problem because everybody's going to be saying Pancake Willie, and that's not a team in the comments.
Pancake Willie, the best NBA team.
Yeah, so it'll get confusing. Either drop a team you want Caitlin to root for or drop a Pancake Willie.
I got to tell you one more. There's one more thing to the story, though.
Okay.
So she did go to an NBA game trying to get into it. However, it might have been the worst possible NBA game to try to get into the NBA. Can you guess what game she went to? Who was playing? If you were trying to introduce a casual fan to the NBA, what could be the worst possible game to bring them to?
Well, I mean, looking at how it's been going this year, I'd say like a Pistons-Wizards game or something along those lines.
You're very close. It was a Wizards-Hornets game in DC.
That was my next pick, was Wizards-Hornets. Well, how recently did she go?
I don't remember. I think it was within the last month, I want to say.
Then she got to see Thunder Legends all over the place. So that sounds like a good game to me. She got to see Poku play hoops. I don't know how you can't see Poku play hoops and not fall in love with the game. That's all.
It's hilarious, though, because I was telling the story to Matt, our boy Matt, on the way to the gym this morning, and he was just like, "What are you talking about, bro? Brandon Miller versus Jordan Poole? That's pure hoops. Like
That's true."
I was like, "Yeah, pure hoops for someone who actually watches basketball."
and someone new trying to get into it, probably trying to watch some Jordan Poole, Brandon Miller. Although Brandon Miller is sick, so more so, I guess maybe like the Jordan Poole versus, I don't know, whoever on the Hornets. I'm not going to say Trey Mann. I won't slander a Thunder legend. Shout out to him, by the way. He just went off against us in the Oklahoma City Thunder Bowl that the Thunder and Hornets just played. So, yeah, shout out to the GOAT. Yeah, I guess Jordan Poole versus Nick Smith Jr., I guess, that type of duel.
Did you guys set the record for the most players in a single game that played for the same team?
Honestly, it might be
up 15. There. And then you have like the 5 on the Hornets that also played for you. So it's like,
so it's because obviously everyone on the Thunder, and then the Hornets have Trey Mann, Poku, Micic, Bertans. Who else is over there for them? I'm gonna double check the roster, make sure I'm not forgetting anybody.
That's 19. There's 15 on NBA roster, right, including the two ways, or is it 14?
Yeah, I mean it depends, with injuries and stuff like that too. Yeah, that's all of them. So it's probably up there. It might be the most Thunder legends that have ever been in a game, and I kind of need to do the math on that because that's my thing. So I'm going to do the research and get back to you next podcast episode. I'll let y'all know. But yeah, so we're here today to talk for a little bit about the playoffs that are coming up. There is a week left of the regular season as we're recording this, uploading it on the Monday following. There are some games still going on right now as we record this, so standings might change a little bit. But for the moment, as we're recording this, here are the standings. The Boston Celtics are easily the 1 seed. They have 62 wins at this point. First team since, I think it was Miami back in like 2013 or 2014 to win 60 games in the East. So huge accomplishment by them. They're a whole 14 and a half games ahead of the Bucks, who are at the 2 seed. They've lost to a few lottery teams in a row at this point. The Magic are actually the 3 seed right now, 16 games back, but it's been enough to get them the 3 seed, a little bit ahead of the Knicks and the Cavs. Cavs just choked a 26-point lead to the Clippers today. The Pacers are 1 game back. The Heat are 1.5 games back. The Sixers are tied with the Heat and actually playing at the moment, where if the Sixers end up winning, they're down 9 right now to the Spurs. They were coming back. They would end up moving to the 7 spot, which could be huge for that play-in matchup, trying to push their way out of the play-in. So stuff's really close. And then the Bulls and Hawks are, of course, locked into that 9-10 matchup of the play-in as well. So that's your Eastern Conference standings preview. And in the Western Conference, things are a lot closer. Hilarious that the gap between the Nuggets at the 1 spot and the Warriors is 3 games less than the gap between the Celtics and the Bucks at the 1 and 2 seed in the East. Thunder won today, like I mentioned. They are half a game back of the Wolves. Nuggets are the 1 seed at the moment. These 3 teams are battling for that spot. Clippers Mavs is starting to seem all but guaranteed to be a first-round matchup, which is going to be unbelievably fun. That's a dream first-round matchup, I know, for me. I'm sure Ryan's also probably pretty into it. We'll talk about that in a moment. The Suns are 1.5 games back of them, trying to stave off the Pelicans and the Lakers, who actually moved out of that 9-10 matchup right now. They're ahead of the Kings, although I believe the Kings have the tiebreaker, so we'll see how that finishes out. And the Warriors have secured the 10 spot. At the very least, the Rockets are no longer in it. So we have our 10 teams in each conference. And for the moment, again, this is what the kind of playoffs would look like. We'd have a Nuggets versus either Kings, Warriors, Lakers, Pelicans series. Same thing with the Wolves, Thunder, Suns, Clippers, Mavericks, and the East. We'd have Celtics versus one of these 4 play-in teams, as well as the Bucks. Magic Pacers, which is a hilarious all defense versus no defense matchup. And the Knicks versus Cavaliers, the battle of the 2 most decimated teams in the East, it feels like. So some fun stuff. But we obviously don't know what the bracket's going to shake out like in the rest of this coming week. So we figured we'd go ahead and talk about it in a little bit of a preview format. So we're going to go to another tier list. Y'all love when we do these tier list videos. And we're going to go ahead and rank every single NBA playoff play-in team, whether they're the favorites in their conference. That can only be one team from each conference in that category. The teams that we think could win their conference that are contenders, could make some noise, like kind of your dark horses. And then early exit, Ryan wanted to put it as no chance, so I left that for him there. At the bottom of the tier list, and then lottery bound are for the teams that just cannot pull it off. They either are completely eliminated, because obviously this tier list has every team on it, as one of my AirPods dies and I'm switching on the fly. But yeah, so this is what we're gonna do with our tier list here. We're just gonna go through. Next episode will probably be award races. We'll talk about those who we have winning. And then finally, we'll do like a full playoff preview before the play-in begins also next week. So leave a like and subscribe if you want to see that stuff. And yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get it started after I just yapped on for about 3 minutes.
Yapper of the year over here. That'll be an our award video next.
I'll win Yapper of the year. I realize we've been asking y'all to comment a lot, but I think it would also be fun if we did like some superlative awards in our award show, because we don't just want to do the typical like MVP depoy. We're going to do those, of course, but also leave any like superlative awards you'd like us to go ahead and give out to NBA players, coaches, teams down below. Like maybe we could do a most disappointing team or player award, or surprise player of the year, maybe not like the most improved.
I'm gonna make a promise. I'm gonna make a promise.
Okay.
If you comment an award, I don't care how stupid it is, as long as it's not like inappropriate or like offensive or anything, we will come up with a winner for the award. I don't care. It could be the Dwayne Dedman Third String Center of the Year award. It could be anything.
Ryan's making some bold promises out here.
You comment down the award, and as long as it's not offensive or inappropriate, we will come up with the winner. So I'm trying to boost our algorithm. That's how we're going to do it. Comment below. If you're listening on Spotify, go to YouTube like a normal human. Click on the video. Give us a like.
Unnecessary shout out to Spotify listeners.
Comment down below what award you want us to do, and we will do it. That is a Pancake Willie promise.
Okay, and that's the most solemn vow you can make. You can't make a more solemn vow than the Pancake Willie promise. All right, so real quick, I'm going to throw some teams just out of this top row into lottery bound.
You got Pistons and contenders?
I do not, unfortunately. Contending for the number 1 overall pick, yes. The Jazz are eliminated.
That's the wrong tier list.
The Grizzlies are out. The Hornets, the Blazers are no longer in it. We have the Brooklyn Nets, who are no longer in it. And who am I missing here? Oh, they're the Rockets. I was looking for them. And then one more team, or is that everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. All right, 20 teams. So we're going to start off, I guess, with I guess we can just go in order. We don't have to start like tier by tier.
Yeah.
The Sixers, actually, Ryan, funnily enough, are here right now. Where do you have them on this tier list? They've had a weird season with
So this might be my home.
They've been looking better.
This might be the homework coming out in me. We've been playing some doo-doo teams, and I'm not counting tonight because we're playing without a couple guys because we're resting, which I get it, but it's so sad to see us resting people in like one of the most important games of the season. But I personally, just because the East is so decimated and with Joel Embiid, they can beat anybody, I'm tempted to put them in the contender category.
Interesting.
And my whole rationale behind that is just with the injuries of the other teams, because the Bucks have looked kind of trash. The Knicks and Cavs are playing the injured bowl. Like it's like when I think contenders, I'm thinking of like teams that I think can make the Eastern Conference Finals, or like or make a push for that. And I really do think within the healthy Joel Embiid, the Sixers could, in theory, beat anybody, especially with these teams that are kind of injured. Because if any of these teams, like if Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland has to miss time for the Cavs, or the Knicks are already having a couple injuries, if anyone else goes down and Brunson's not having his best series, and I really think the Sixers could beat a lot of these second-tier teams in the East. So that's personally where I would have them, just because I think they have arguably the second or third best ceiling in the East out of the teams that are available. So
I think I'm kind of with it. Yeah. So for
contender, it might be bold, but
I think for contender, I agree with you. These are teams like I could see having a decent shot at making the Eastern Conference Finals. It's going to be hard for the Sixers, if you ask me, to beat Boston, because just in general, I don't know if anybody can beat the Celtics at this point, to be honest. So I'm down with it. We can put the Sixers here. And I guess with that, we could also just real quick talk about Boston while we're on the topic of that. The Celtics are the favorite in the Eastern Conference. I think it's pretty obvious that they are the team to beat out East. The Bucks have looked like, for a lot of the season, the team that could give them the most problems, but then they went ahead and lost to, it was the Grizzlies, the Wizards, and one other team, like 3 lottery teams in a row. It has not been pretty, and they're actually below 500 since Doc Rivers became the coach. I know Adrian Griffin wasn't the answer there. I don't think Doc Rivers was the solution either, and neither one of us liked that when it happened. Obviously, you as a Sixers fan, you've been there before, you've seen that. Just hasn't really been pretty. And Giannis is great. Maybe Dame turns it up. I do think the Bucks have a chance to make the conference finals, and we'll talk about them in a moment too.
I guess we might as well put them in where we think we should put them.
I think they're also in this contending tier. Even though they've been very shaky, they still do, again, have Giannis. They have Dame. They have been the number 2 seed for a lot of the season. I worry about them because they're so inconsistent. It's either an amazing team on some nights, it's an awful team on other nights. The defense looks great, it looks bad, the offense fluctuates. Everything for them changes on a nightly basis. A lot of it's going to depend on what Bucks team you're getting from game to game. And, it also depends on the health of Chris Middleton. It depends on the health of Brook Lopez. How do guys actually look out there? Who's playing for you? It's just been a weird season for the Bucks. It hasn't been the year either one of us, I think, were expecting from Milwaukee. And I do still think they can make it to the conference finals. And if they find like their true potential in there, maybe they find a way to take down Boston, or at the very least make it interesting. But I think the Celtics are very clearly the team to beat in the East. Again, they're 14 and a half games above anybody else in the Eastern Conference. It's not even close. And I know there have been moments where Jason Tatum has struggled in the playoffs, and Jaylen Brown last year with the whole Heat forcing him left thing. They almost came back from down 0-3, but ended up blowing it at home. I know they've had their moments. But this is such a vastly different team from previous years. I've seen so many people say, oh, you say this about the Celtics every year, that people are like, oh, this is their year. They're going to win it all. The Celtics have never been favored like this, ever. No. This is a brand new team. They replaced Marcus Smart and Grant Williams with Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. This is a massively different team. The bench, I think, is held up decently well. Like Peyton Pritchard's been pretty good this season. Same thing with Sam Hauser. Al Horford's off the bench too. They're relatively healthy at the moment. Kristaps has been going through some ups and downs, but he should be good to go, I would imagine. And they don't even really need him for like the first series, I would imagine. Maybe even 2, depending on what team they face. If they get to the conference finals and they have their guys on the court, I don't know if anybody can beat the Celtics in the East.
Yeah, I would agree. And just kind of going back on the Bucks, they still have Doc Rivers. So, I mean, having a chance to blow a 3-1 lead at any moment also can, not put them in the favorites category. It's kind of a shame because on paper, a lot of these East teams look really good. It's just like, think with how highly regarded the Celtics are right now and how much their performance has just been way above and beyond everybody else. It's kind of hard to put anyone else. I don't think there's anyone else in the East you can put in the favorites tier for now. I think everyone has to be contenders or lower, because I think it's going to come down to either a team getting hot at the right time and beating Boston, or like what you were saying, like maybe Kristaps, some injuries linger. Tatum has some playoff woes. Drew Holiday puts up his normal tour date shooting that he does in the playoffs, stuff like that. So I think it's going to have to be a combination of some terrible things for the Celtics to fall apart and not make a finals run. So I think it would be almost more surprising to people if they didn't make the finals than if they did.
Yeah, I keep seeing people saying, "Oh, like the Celtics are going to fall apart. I can't wait to watch them have an early exit in the East." To who? Like, who's going to beat them? I think the Sixers could give them an interesting series if they match up in the first round. But the Sixers have had their problems against Boston in the past, and they, as good as Embiid has looked at times so far coming back from injury, he's not 100% quite yet. The Sixers' best chance at making a deep run is avoiding Boston as long as possible. Like, if they could get Embiid reconditioned and face them in the conference finals, then I think they can make things a lot more interesting than if they face off in the first round. Same thing for the Bucks. They're going to be the 2 seed likely, so they'll be able to avoid the Celtics till the conference finals. But like a Sixers-Bucks series, I think could be very interesting because I think Nick Nurse is a much better coach than Doc Rivers. We'd have to see how Embiid looks, but I don't know anybody in that backcourt that can slow down Tyrese Maxey consistently. It would be very interesting. So yeah, I think Celtics are clearly the favorites in the East. I think the Sixers and Bucks, as they currently are probably the 2 teams I like the best to try and challenge the Celtics if anybody can, but it's going to be a massive uphill battle to beat the Celtics.
One thing I want to say to just, boast on my Sixers for a little bit is I think the Sixers might have the best, other than maybe the Knicks, which maybe it's not the case now because they have some injuries, but I think the Sixers have one of the best supporting casts around their roster, just because like the Bucks and Celtics, I feel like they can go 7, maybe 8 deep. And for the Bucks, that's even kind of a stretch to say they're going 8 deep, to be honest, depending on how people are playing. But just with the Sixers, I just feel like they have so many good role players that we really have not had this in the past, where you can say like, okay, who should be like the 8th and 9th man? Because there's people that could totally be in that spot. Usually it's like, oh God, we got to play a 6th player. Like that's usually kind of how it's been for Philly. So I think that hopefully could be a reason that Sixers could also maybe propel a little bit, but we'll see.
That's why I was on the Sixers hype train earlier in the season. Like I believed in the Sixers team a lot, and I tweeted out the other day, I still think they can make a run because I like the supporting cast. They built a lot around Embiid. Nick Nurse is a way better coach than they've had in the past. So I don't know. I just think people are still kind of stuck on the whole Embiid thing and the fact that the Sixers haven't gotten over the hump. And I'm not saying they're going to get out of the second round. I'm not saying they're going to win the Eastern Conference necessarily, but I do think making it to the second round, and I don't think there's an unrealistic path to them making a conference finals. I think it's very possible. So yeah, those are kind of the top 3, I think, in the East at the moment. There are some other teams we'll talk about too that are in that conversation. The Hawks, I think it's easily early exit, no chance. They're not really going to go anywhere. I could see them like trying to make it out of the play-in. Like, I don't think it's impossible for them. Although with Trae Young being hurt, like,
is he supposed to be back?
I don't think we've gotten an update. I don't believe. Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, neither have I.
So he's obviously out with that finger injury. Let's see. He discussed his potential return on his latest podcast episode. Hold on.
Instead of Boris dropping bombs, it's Trae Young dropping his own injury news.
He said, it's getting better. I'm getting close to making a fist again. Then I can get on the court and do some ball handling stuff. He's not coming back. There's no way. Dude, he's not making a fist yet, and the season ends in 1 week. There's no way Trae Young's coming back. So I think Trae's going to be out for these playing games. I mean, they could beat the Bulls in a playing game, but I don't think they're beating whoever it is that they have to face. Like if it's Miami or Philly, I don't think that they're coming out on top in that game. DeJounte's been great trying to hold them up. Jalen Johnson's back, but I just don't see it happening. So,
not to mention Sadiq Bey and his ACL are not there either.
Yeah, that's true. Sadiq Bey's ACL injury. I honestly forgot that happened too, because there was that stretch where like everybody got hurt all at once, like the Şengün injury and the Sadiq one. There was something else. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, hopefully they're all getting better soon. The Cavs. This is a team that under normal circumstances, I might put them up here in contenders. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted to still do that, but Donovan Mitchell does not look right. He's been trying to play. It hasn't gone according to plan. He's just not been great. He didn't play in the game today against the Clippers, but the game before, he looked like 20% of his usual self. Mobley's been hurt. He and Garland, Donovan Mitchell, that is, haven't exactly clicked a lot of this season. I think I'm tempted to put them more in could make noise right now just because of how bad the injury bug is biting them. If they're fully healthy and doing some of the stuff we saw earlier in the season, I think they'd be one of my threats to make the Eastern Conference Finals and could make noise. Like they do still have a shot. I'm not counting them out of it completely. We'll see how they look over the next week. Maybe they refine some rhythm. But at this moment, I think they're more likely a first or a second round exit, depending on the matchup that they get.
Yeah, I just think with Cleveland, it's like you were saying, there's been no continuity because people have been in and out of the lineup with the injuries, and just even the people that are playing just don't look 100%. Even when Garland's been in there, I feel like he's kind of taken a step back productivity wise this year, from years past. And like you were saying, there's a little bit of disconnect, it seems like, with some of the guys. So I just think that the Cavs on paper, they're one of the best rosters in the East. Like when you have 2 all-star guards and 2 potential all-defensive centers, it's just like that sounds like a recipe for absolute success. But it just really doesn't seem to be working out, and the injuries is just it's a shame because I was with you. The Cavs were up there for me for being like, I think they were up there with anyone else in the East. I think people weren't giving them enough credit. I think when we made preseason predictions, we both were kind of high on the Cavs, and people were kind of coming at us, I think.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. But I'm with you, man. I do think that they could, if they pull together, and we've seen playoff Donovan Mitchell. He goes absolutely berserk in the playoffs. We've seen a lot of those Utah Jazz series with him and Jamal, him and Jamal Murray battling in that one series is like all-time hoops for me. That was so fun to watch back in the day when we had nothing else going on in our lives.
Yeah, shout out to Bubble Hoops, Bubble Jamal Murray going crazy. Bubble TJ Warren, his first debut game against y'all.
I know, no kid. It was so funny. I remember watching that game. And I'm like, why is TJ? Why? I was so mad because Sixers were notorious for letting random role players just go off against us. Little did I know it was the start of his Linsanity run, which I don't think people talk about enough. Everyone talks about Jeremy Lin, like, because he made the Linsanity run. The TJ Warren, like, there needs to be a War Sanity or something like that. Some kind of
War Sanity.
Somebody needs to make a video about. You need to make a video.
You could just say War Insanity.
Yeah,
it works. Maybe I will make a Bubble TJ Warren video this offseason when we're in the dead of the summer and there's like nothing to talk about.
Because people talk about I think the TJ Warren Sanity run does not get talked about enough. I don't think
it does not. It's like the definition of that because he just for some reason like randomly because he was nice over the course of his career, but he was putting up like 30 a game in the bubble. It was
like he was like a solid starter, but he was never like he was like all NBA type of production in the bubble. It was crazy.
Shout out to the GOAT. Speaking of that, the Pacers are the team that he was on at the moment of the bubble series. I'm tempted to put them in early exit, no chance. Tyrese Haliburton doesn't look right. He hasn't looked right for a long time now. That injury is really bothering him. I think I'm still, I don't know, because so right now they would be, let me go back to the standings real quick. They would be the 6th seed and they would play the Magic. I mean, they could theoretically win that series. Sure. I'm almost tempted to put them in could make noise because I do think there's a chance like they could win a first round series. Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to put them in the absolutely no chance.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a small chance that Tyrese Haliburton can find his midseason tournament magic, then they have a chance. Because that's pretty much what happened when they were beating up on the Bucks earlier in the season. Everyone was like, "Oh, we found the Bucks kryptonite is Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers." Like that, those games were so much fun to watch when Haliburton was putting up like 25 points and like 15 to 20 dimes. Like we were like amazed at how many dimes he was putting up every night, and they're playing so fast paced. And I remember betting on Pacers overs because just every game was like 140 to 130, but they were still pulling out the dubs. I just think kind of like what you're saying, the team lives and dies by Haliburton. Siakam has been like a good addition, but I feel like he's not going to be like the X factor for that team. It's going to be if Haliburton's playing on that all NBA type level that we've seen before. And like you were saying, I just don't think he's really looked right. So if he's not looking right, I don't think much is going to happen in that case. But like you said, like I'm not trying to come at the Magic, and I'm going to apologize to the Magic or any of their fans, but the Magic are such a fraudulent 3 seed in my opinion. Like on paper, they're not better than the Knicks or the Cavs or the Sixers or you know what I mean? I don't know. I get it. They've been healthy though. As one thing I will give them, they really haven't had a ton of long-term injuries to their best players. Like I think Wendell Carter might have missed some time, but like Franz has been fine. Paolo's been good.
Suggs has been there pretty consistently. Yeah.
Cole Anthony's been. You know what I mean? All their like go-to guys have been playing all year. So not trying to like being healthy is being available as a plus, aka the Jokic MVPs, but
okay, all right, Embiid fan, whatever.
But that's what I'm saying. I just feel like if you like, kind of like what you're saying, them playing the Magic round 1, I think that is definitely a winnable series. And I'm kind of upset that the Sixers are likely going to lose tonight because I was really pulling for that 6th seed because I think that would have been a great first round matchup for Philly. I think they would have had no answer to Embiid. And
I've got news for you. It's a 3-point game.
Oh, how much time is left?
2 minutes, 30 seconds left.
Oh man, I'm gonna pull it up on my phone. You can start talking about Luka and his Mavs. I'm gonna pull this up and keep it on my phone.
Okay. Yeah, so the Mavericks. Real quick, a thing about the Pacers, I guess. Halliburton and Siakam haven't been great as a duo so far. The minutes haven't looked the best. I think a lot of that is, again, because Halliburton has been hurt. He kind of rushed himself back from that injury, it felt like, and he just hasn't really been the same player like he was early in the season. I think that early season version of Tyrese is the real Tyrese Halliburton. Like, that's actually how good he is. It wasn't just like a crazy, insanity run, I guess. While we're
TJ Warren bubble run.
Yeah, it wasn't a TJ Warren bubble run, but I don't know if we're going to see that Tyrese throughout the playoffs. If he was showing up, they would be pretty interesting to, take a series, maybe even 2 if they got the right matchup. But I think they're just still a little bit away. Also, no Benedict Mathurin for the rest of the season as well, which is a blow to them too. The Dallas Mavericks, I think they've proven at this point they belong in the contender tier. I think they've shown themselves as.
I was high on them. I remember I was hyping them up when we did our little playoff draft, I think, a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I was high on the Mavericks, man. If you have Luka Doncic on your team and Kyrie's playing like he has been, anything can happen as long as the role players remember how to play.
Yeah, they've been going crazy. The Mavs are, with the win today, like we were talking about, feels pretty locked into that 5 seed, going from a play-in team to now going to match up against the Clippers. And that series is huge because I think both those teams have the chance to make a lot of noise, but only one of them is going to come out of that alive. I could see that being a 7-game series. Luka has a chance to get his revenge on the Clippers after losing to them twice in the playoffs earlier in his career. The Clippers try to continue this streak. And Luka is one of the best playoff performers we've seen in a while. Second most playoff points per game in NBA history, only behind Michael Jordan. Luka's insane. And then Kyrie's been playing great. The role players like Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington that they picked up have been pretty good. Dante Exum's having a career renaissance over there.
Shot he hit today was absolutely
crazy shot to send the game to overtime. Yeah, they're just putting it together at the right time. It feels like they're finding their stride. This is when you have to peak if you want to compete. And the Mavericks are peaking at the right moment. I think they could absolutely make a run to the conference finals. And hey, if they somehow made a run to the NBA finals, I don't think it's the most shocking thing in the world. I don't think they're going to do it, but they've got, with how stacked the West is, a decent chance. So shout out to the Mavericks. I think they really pivoted well at the deadline, and this feels like one of the better teams Luka's ever had around him.
I just want to say that Victor Wembanyama has 7 blocks, and he just got like 3 blocks in a minute. I think we're done for.
So. Yeah, y'all are down 7 now. Jeez. I shouldn't have brought that up.
Maxi Masterclass.
There you go. We're back, baby. Yeah, with the Mavericks, it's just Luka's going to have to take them, or it's going to be mainly up to Luka and Kyrie. They have to cook the way that they have in the regular season. If a team slows down Luka or Kyrie at all, it's maybe wraps for this squad, just because a lot of the role players, like, I don't trust a bunch of guys. And that's been one thing that's worried me about them is, who's like that third option for them. Some nights it's Tim Hardaway Jr., but if he's off, is it Dante Exum? Is it Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively catching lobs? It's not as great as the third option on some of these other teams, which is a bit concerning, but their top 2 guys are as good as basically anybody in not just the Western Conference, but it feels like almost the NBA with the level that they've been playing at. And Luka's made himself an MVP push here late in the season. So shout out to him.
Shout out to Devontae Graham for stepping out of bounds. I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Shout out to him, Spurs legend. Hitting a game winner against the Thunder legend, the longest game winner of all time. So shout out to him for that.
Didn't Shea hit like a crazy shot right before that too?
Yeah, Shea hit a crazy shot, like fading away from the logo to tie the game, and then Devontae Graham hits the literal longest game winner, game-winning buzzer beater that is in NBA history. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Denver Nuggets. I think it's pretty clear they're in the favorites tier.
I agree.
At the moment, these are the 2 teams that are the favorites in their conferences at the moment for good reason. I mean, the Nuggets don't feel as it doesn't feel like the Nuggets are as unbeatable in the Western Conference, because I think the West is a lot better than the East, especially with all the injuries going on over there. Like, if the Nuggets fall to a few different teams, it wouldn't be shocking. Like, I do think the Nuggets win the West, but I do think it's possible that they could lose before the NBA Finals. And then, if this was the NBA Finals matchup, I think it's kind of a toss-up. I'm sure a lot of people go Denver because they are the reigning champions. They have the best part in the world in Jokic. A lot of people go the Celtics because they're the more stacked overall team. But there's just something about this Denver Nuggets team. Like, I've never seen a squad. Max just hit a 3 to make it a 2-point game.
44 points.
I've never seen a team, or I guess very few teams in NBA history, that have had the chemistry that the Nuggets do. Like, they feel like, and I said this in a video recently, they feel like they have this like one brain. They all share one brain, and they're like this living organism out there in the basketball court. Like the chemistry is absurd between Jokic and Aaron Gordon on those cuts. The two-man game between Jokic and Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. has taken like a bit of a midseason leap. It's been insane to watch the Nuggets ever since they went on their run to the 1 seed last year. They're going to be the 1 seed. It feels like again this year, although it's still up in the air with the Thunder and the Wolves lurking. They're the best team in the Western Conference again.
Batum! Nick, I'm sorry, Nick Batum. Oh my God, Nick Batum.
Fourth quarter, why Batum in?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
for those of you that are wondering, Nick Batum just hit a huge three to give them a 1 point lead.
I have. If you don't use the real app, by the way, to watch like sports and like the live plays, I don't know what you're doing. It's the best live sports app for like updates.
Shout out to Real.
But I just see Nick Batum lead taking three, and I'm just like, Nick Batum, I just saved the Sixers season. Oh my God!
Yeah, shout out to the GOAT.
Someone said, why is Batum even in the game?
Hey man, he's cooking out there.
Sorry. But yes, Denver Nuggets, living organism. They have a good chemistry. They don't have Nick Batum though, so I don't know.
They don't have Nick Batum. That's one difference between them and the Sixers. But yeah,
Nuggets Jamal Murray, playoff riser.
Yeah, Jamal Murray goes insane in every single playoff series he's ever played in. Jokic just had one of the greatest individual playoff runs of all time. If they replicate that, I don't know how anybody's going to beat them. So we'll just have to see if they can do it again. The bench is a bit of a weakness. We've talked about this all year, but when you comes down to starting fives, it's between them and Boston is the best in the world. And I mean, you can see that with them being the favorites. The Minnesota Timberwolves, I think. See, one thing that's hard with them is the cat injury. I still do think I want to put them in the contending tier as a team that could, make it to the conference finals. Are you good with that?
I'm probably cool with that. It's just the thing with me is if I had to pick between like Mavericks and Wolves, I would totally put the Mavericks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's the only tough part for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with what Anthony Edwards has done, the fact that they've maintained close to a 1 seed or been in that race even after the cat injury, I think it's enough for me to keep them up there. And I do think when cat's there, like this team could make a conference finals run. I don't know. Well, mainly because one thing that I think makes them one of the more interesting matchups, to be honest, going up against Denver is the fact that they have like kind of the size to match with the Nuggets. Like the Nuggets go big with Gordon and MPJ and Jokic all in the same front court. The Timberwolves, of course, do the same exact thing with Cat out there, Gobert, Jaden McDaniels. So I think they present them an interesting matchup. Their size that can overwhelm a lot of teams. They've got an amazing defense. Ant was a playoff riser in a big way last year. So I think they still do have a chance to go ahead and make a conference finals run. I'm definitely not counting out the Wolves by any means. The Cat injury, I do think, is a big thing that shifts them a lot. When is Cat going to be back? He's only got a week to return. Is he just going to come back during the playoffs? And if he does, that's a little bit concerning, trying to get back to that playoff intensity. Also, could have some tough matchups in the first round. Like they could right now go up against as the 2 seed. They would play the winner of the Pelicans and Lakers. And either one of those teams are really, really good. So I think they're going to need Cat back ASAP. You can't just get through a first-round series easily without Cat in this Western Conference. So he is the big swing factor for this team, his health and when he returns. We'll have to wait and see. Also, the Bucks lost again right now. They're now 1-6 in the last 7. So if you're wondering about the Bucks, yeah, not the best performance. But yeah, the Wolves, I think, have to be in the contending tier, what they've done all season. But the Cat injury is going to determine whether or not they could actually live up to this billing, is what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, this might just be my hater coming out, but like if I had to make if I was making my tier list of who I think could come out of the West, like I do think that the Wolves are in that contending tier, but I would just be so tempted to pick some of these other teams like over them. Like you can only have so many contenders. I feel like I would pick like Denver. I think I would pick Dallas. I'd probably pick the Clippers. Be tempted to pick the Suns. I'd probably pick the Thunder. Pelicans and Lakers. I would probably consider picking over them as well. So I feel like
Ryan's a real hater.
Yeah, so that's my thing. I don't know. I just feel like the Wolves, like they definitely could make a run, but I just feel like some of these other teams I think are just right on that same level. Or when it comes to the playoffs, like we haven't seen the Wolves have any playoff success yet, so we kind of need to see how that goes too. They did make this series interesting last year, but like I don't know, man.
They're an interesting one in the West because I know there are a lot of people that don't believe in them, that think they could be a first-round exit. And I do think if Cat doesn't come back and looks like himself, they could lose in the first round to one of these great teams. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I respect what they've done this so far.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I would keep them there too. But I'm just saying it now. If they get first rounded, you heard it. Oh my God, they said a 3. I'm gonna. Oh.
You've seen all the stages of grief.
This is being this is a Sixers fan in like 5 minutes right here.
Who would have 3?
Julian Champ. I think he was a former Sixer too. That sucks.
Oh, you got Champagne. You'd hate to see it, man.
We still have a chance. All right, Maxi game winners gonna hit like crack.
The Clippers are the next team. I think they also go in this tier. They scare me a lot. They've been very inconsistent as of late. Recently, they've been turning it back up a little bit. I still do. Seeing what they did all throughout this, or not all throughout the season, but for a majority of the year after that little rough patch at the beginning of the Harden trade era, makes me want to say they're still in this tier, because I do still think the Clippers can make a conference finals run. Like, the winner of that Mavs-Clippers series has a great chance of going the distance, theoretically. I mean, it's going to depend who's the 1 seed. Like, do they have to play the Nuggets in the second round or not? But I think the Clippers do still have a shot. It depends how they look on a night-to-night basis. But Kawhi Leonard has consistently been a monster in the playoffs. Paul George has had some big playoff series recently. He just had a monster game against the Cavs to get them the win. So I'm still rocking with the Clippers. I do worry about the injuries that they're facing, but I'm still going to buy into the hype a little bit. They do feel a lot more shaky, though. I feel like in the past, a lot of people have said, oh, they're the second best team in the West behind the Nuggets. I don't know how many people believe that anymore, to be honest.
It's just hard because like the big 3 individually, you would think on paper would be able to bring this team above a lot of these other teams, but it's like you said, we've seen the highs and we've seen the lows of the Clippers, and we just need to see what version we're going to get in the playoffs. And then you do have to see like how the supporting cast, because that's the thing, like even though those big 3 play well, the supporting cast is still really important as well. And so it's just going to be a matter of, are these 3 going to click and play really good basketball? Because I do feel like if you have like Paul George has a disaster series or Harden has a disaster, I feel like all 3 of them are going to need to be on to make a run. Maxi tie the game. I love this man. But but yeah, I think it's going to come down to, if they all click, like if all 3 of them are on, I think they could beat anybody. But it's a lot of ifs. So
yeah, we'll have to also see what version of Kawhi we're getting, because he has been kind of banged up. But I mean, when he's healthy, he's been so consistently one of the best playoff performers ever. So I just don't want to bet against Kawhi Leonard. We'll have to wait and see. This is maybe the last chance for the Clippers too, so maybe that kind of boosts them forward as well. Next up, we have the Phoenix Suns. I think I'm putting them in the could make noise tier. I don't see this team as a contending squad. They've just been, we want to talk about inconsistency, or I guess they've been consistently disappointing throughout the year.
Consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't think this team could really make a run. Like, if they could win a first round series for sure, but I don't think they're beating Denver. I don't see them beating Dallas. I don't think they'll beat Oklahoma City, coming from a Thunder fan, of course. I don't think I'd pick them to beat Minnesota, the Clippers. Like, I think the Suns lose to all those teams. This squad, I just don't think is good enough. We want to talk about weak supporting cast. This is a team that has a pretty weak one. Book and KD have been amazing, and Beal, when he's been on the court, has been good. But beyond that, they just don't have much. And they're one of the worst fourth quarter teams in NBA history. Like, I feel like that doesn't bode well for a team that's trying to compete. And you have to play in like those clutch moments. Obviously, they've had guys that have been there and done it before, but as a team, it's not working. So I don't think I have them in this contending tier. I think they're a step below the rest of these teams.
Yeah, see, this is where my inner hater comes out again, just because like I'm so tempted to say the Suns are more likely to make noise than the Timberwolves. Like, this is just me being but I do agree they're probably a step below, but it's just me being a Timberwolves hater again, because I'm like, when you have KD and Book, like if you give me a series of KD and Book against Minnesota, like I want to rule out, the Phoenix Suns in that case. But, I agree with what you're saying, though. They're just so inconsistent. They have no clutch gene, apparently, even though you would think with KD and Devin Booker, it doesn't make, I don't know if it's like a rotation thing, or they just like forget how to play, or their defensively, or their defense is like a unit is just so bad in the fourth quarter. They just don't know what to do. But their fourth quarter, like, incapacity to do anything needs to be studied, I feel like. It's just been so terrible.
It's legitimately insane. Like, one of the worst net ratings in the history of the sport when they get to the fourth quarter. Doesn't make any sense. Frank Vogel coaching, maybe that's an aspect of it. It's just, I don't know.
Lakers legend.
Doesn't make any sense. The Kings. I think I'd also put them in kind of that could make noise tier.
I disagree.
Would you put them in early exit, no chance?
I would. I think with Herter and Monk banged up, and Fox has had a couple good games recently, but overall he's been kind of meh this year. Sabonis kind of gets exposed in the playoffs a lot. I just think they're going to be a first round exit. I don't see them beating anybody in the West, personally.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably fair. I think it would have been a lot. They would be a lot stronger if Herter wasn't out for the season. And Monk, we don't know when he's going to be back. It feels like he won't be back unless they win a first round series. He's
Yeah.
huge for them. So yeah, I don't know, because at the moment they would have to play the Nuggets first round, even if they made it out of the play-in. I don't know. They are going to get destroyed by the Nuggets. I don't think they stand a chance. So I am cool with that. I guess we can't put every team in these top few tiers, so that's understandable. The Knicks. I think they also kind of go in this could make noise tier, mainly because they're very similar to the Cavaliers. For the Knicks, with me, I think when fully healthy, they could be maybe the second best team in the East.
100% agree.
They're not going to be fully healthy. Julius Randle doesn't seem like he's ready to come back anytime soon. Mitchell Robinson's been banged up for a lot of the season. He came back recently, but he's still kind of on and off with the rest, trying to get back from the injury full time. OG Anunoby came back recently, but he's not. Or I believe he. How did he play? Hold on, I need to go to, because he was back. He was back tonight.
He played 37 minutes and scored 4 points.
Okay, not the best game.
But he had 6 stocks though.
Okay, we do take that. Well, that's the defensive impact of OG. Like, if Julius Randle was healthy, I do think the Knicks, and even without Julius Randle, like, say they get really good matchups, like they beat a banged up Cavs team in like the first round, and then they play like the Magic or something like that in the second round. Maybe they make some kind of run, like say everything breaks their way. I could see a world where they do end up in the conference finals, as I just throw the tier list down the screen. But I think it's going to require Julius Randle to be back for them to make any sustained run. If you ask me, maybe he does return. I don't know. I just think the Knicks right now are kind of in a bad spot, and it's not their fault. Like, again, when fully healthy, this team looks amazing. I just don't see them getting to full health before the playoffs or at any point during it, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's just like even with, people, coming back, even like just you haven't had Mitchell Robinson play with this unit for the whole year, a lot of these guys just came over in trades. Like Dante DiVincenzo now being the team's like second best player is crazy to think about, when he was just like a not fringe rotation player for them, but like he was just kind of like a role player for them, as that was kind of like the blueprint for him to start the year. And now literally he's like their second most important player probably. So I just think it's funny how that role has kind of shifted throughout the season. But I just think without Julius Randle and without the continuity, the tons of injuries and question marks, and even the guys that are playing, they might not be 100%, which it feels like we're just beating a dead horse, because it feels like every Eastern Conference team other than Boston, we've said like, oh, well, if they're healthy, or oh, if the guys,
it really has been a crazy year for the East with these injuries. Like the Western Conference teams are a bit banged up here and there, but the East, it's been decimated, it feels like.
It really has. So it's a shame, because I think roster depth wise, I think the Knicks have the best roster. I think roster top to bottom, the Knicks have one of the best rosters in the entire NBA. When everyone's there, I just think it's going to be really tough given the circumstances. Like I could totally see them making a run, like you were saying, but man, it's a shame, man, because I shouldn't be like rooting for the Knicks as a Philly fan, but it was kind of fun to watch them play this year, just because they don't really have that like top 10 player, but they were still really damn good. So it was like really fun to watch him play.
I mean, shout to like Brunson, it kind of made himself that type of guy throughout this season too. Like, I think he's got an argument to be an All-NBA first team this season. I don't think they're going to put him there, and it probably will go to, like, we've got 4 guys who are locked. It's going to be Shea, Giannis, Jokic, Luka. Those are going to be the 4 guys on All-NBA first team. That 5th spot will probably go to Tatum, I would imagine, because the Celtics have been so good. But I think Brunson has an argument for that spot, and he has to be on All-NBA second team. I think he can't go any lower than second team.
I agree.
He's been so good, like unbelievable, blown away all my expectations from what I thought he was going to bring to the Knicks when they signed him, become an All-NBA level player, which I thought he could become an all-star. Never thought he'd be like at all in NBA first team conversations. Been insane. So it just sucks that they're wasting. And like I saw it firsthand at the Garden too, which we haven't potted since I saw that game. I was at the Thunder Knicks game where Shea hit the game winner, by the way. One of the craziest games I've ever witnessed. The atmosphere was electric, because the previous games I'd gone to in the Garden, like the Thunder blew the Knicks out both times I've seen them there up to this point. So getting to see that game was ridiculous, and just incredible energy. But all night, Jalen Brunson was terrifying. Like, there has been very few times I've watched a player live that has struck that type of fear into me. I was so certain he was going to hit a game winner against us after Shea hit that shot. I was like, he is going to game us. He didn't end up doing it, thankfully, but it was like terrifying watching him out there. And it's such a drastic difference from where he was a few years ago, where he was the second option in Dallas. led them through that first round series for the most part against the Jazz before Luka came back. He comes back midway through the series, and then they go on that Western Conference Finals run, and then he gets his own team over here in New York and has very quickly become easily the best player in this squad. Like, it was like that. It became his team.
You want to know the last time a player struck fear into my heart like that much? Carson Edwards against UVA.
Oh my God, bro. Don't even talk about that. I don't think there's a time I've ever been more scared in my life of an opposing player than Carson Edwards against UVA in that title run. If y'all didn't know, we both went to UVA. So we were there when the national championship run happened, and Carson Edwards on the time was at Purdue, and he had like 40 almost. I think he had like 38 in that game. He was hitting step back bank threes left and right. And he's like a 6-foot guard who was just cooking everybody. Like the best defensive team in the country couldn't do anything against him. It was ridiculous. So yeah, that was, if you haven't seen that, go watch Carson Edwards against UVA highlights. After that game, I was convinced he was going to be a stud in the league. Like, I remember
we both were. I remember I was so pissed the Sixers didn't draft him. I was like,
well, no. I think y'all drafted him, if I remember right.
I think we did.
Drafted him and then trade him to Boston and got Matisse in that deal. I believe it was.
I was so pressed. I was like, we got a guy who can't play offense, and I just watched this guy murder us in the freaking college basketball playoffs. Oh my gosh. Also, this was first game is like game of the year right now. There's been like 10 lead changes in overtime.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like, I've been keeping up with it here.
Ricky Council just got a steal to tie the game. So
shout out to KJ Martin, 2-point dunk. He's been pretty good for y'all.
He's a solid. He's been a pretty solid role player. I'm actually pretty happy with him.
Yeah, I know he had a good game against Memphis last time. He's got 6 points right now. 6 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, playing in crunch time. Shout out to KJ. Okay. The Pelicans, after our quick Carson Edwards detour, I think I'm going to put in could make noise.
I agree.
Like, this is a team, I think if they really got it rolling, they could make a deep run to like the conference finals. The West is just so crazy, but I don't think they're going to double OT, by the way.
By the time, at this rate, I'm going to be able to watch the end of the game because the
playoffs for real. Be over. Yeah, we'll hurry this up so Ryan can watch the end of the game. Yeah, so the Pelicans been amazing all year. They're falling down the standings a little bit because of the Brandon Ingram injury, which is the big blow to this team at the moment. We don't know when BI is going to be back. We don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back. If BI was healthy, I think this team could make a bit of a deeper run. I still think they could put up a great fight in a first-round series, but it's going to be hard for me to say that they're going to beat somebody if he's not there. So it's tough.
So what's his timetable?
I don't know. This is another guy that I feel like I haven't seen any updates on.
I feel like they've just been kind of leaving us in the dark with some of these star player injuries. Like, I don't know, but for like Embiid, it was always like April 1st. Like, it was just like kind of drilled into us. Some of these other guys, I feel like it's just like, I don't know.
He's been cleared to begin individual on-court workouts. Will gradually increase the intensity of his rehabilitation schedule. A return to play date has not yet been determined. So maybe he could be back for game 1 of the playoffs, it sounds like. Could maybe have a chance.
And what seed are the Pelicans right now?
They are at the moment the 7 seed.
That's kind of nerve-wracking because I really do feel like that could really have some potential issues for them with the play-in game. I think missing BI is a big loss, especially when you're trying to play in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He's just one of those guys I feel like could definitely take over when you need that guy to.
Oh, for sure. Like, you think back to the 2021 series against the Suns in the first round after they came out of the play and what he was doing in that series. That's one of the reasons why I thought this Pelicans team had the chance to do something crazy. I don't know anymore, depending with what's going on with BI. Okay, next team is let's knock some out of the way real quick. Chicago Bulls, early exit, no chance. Yeah, I don't think we need to talk much about that one. I guess that's really the only one to knock out. The Miami Heat, I think I put in could make noise. I don't see this team going on a conference finals run again. Although the East is, with some of these teams in the East, like I could see the Heat doing it, but I don't see them as like with like the Sixers and Bucks. I think those teams have a better chance to make an East run, in my opinion, than the Heat do. I know this is going to get clipped if the Heat do it again because they always seem to find a way to do it, but I just don't trust this Heat team as much. Tyler Hero is again injured. The offense has been really rough at times. Jimmy Butler, maybe he again activates playoff mode, but has not been great recently. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see with this Heat team. They're also right now in the play-in. They will be the 8 seed if the Sixers end up winning this game, which again is in double overtime at the moment as we're recording this. So we'll wait and see. But for the moment, I don't know. I just don't think the Heat have that same magic this year. Like, if they end up as the 8 seed and play Boston, I don't think they're beating them. I think the Bucks would beat them, although it would be a really interesting series. So Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man. A Bucks Heat series would be interesting, man.
It is.
They always play.
It does give
well.
flashbacks. It does give flashbacks.
It does. I'm gonna just throw this out here as a bold. I think a Bucks Heat series is just very interesting. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Very interesting.
All right, we'll leave it at that. My Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm putting us, I think, in contender.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, even without Shea and J-Dub, they've looked really good, as a team. And I just think once those guys are back in the lineup and, going full throttle, I think that kind of like some of these other teams, the Thunder just have like a really good, I feel like they have good chemistry. They have good energy. They play really well together. And they kind of have a formula they've been kind of sticking with that's been really working for them.
Mm.
And like people always argue about the inexperience, but Shea's played 2 playoff series before. He's been there. Dort's been there. They've been playing tough games all season. They've been beating up on some good teams. Like I don't know. It's not like they're just some Cinderella story, and it's just like, oh, it's so cool. Look at the Thunder, this little charity run they're on right now. It's like I don't know. They're just legit a good team, and you have a top 10 player in Shea who's gonna make All NBA first team. MVP, probably runner up. I would have runner up or third. I would probably say. Right?
Yeah, with the way the season ended with him being injured, I would say it's going to be between him and Luka. I think for that second spot, we'll see.
Yeah,
but he's going to finish top 3 for sure, which is sick. Yeah, I mean, this team's been top 5 offensively and defensively like all season. When Shea's been on the court, their net rating is like of a 60-win team. Exceed all expectations. J-Dub's been great. Chet's been great. The supporting cast is deep. I think Mark Daigneault's a great coach. Yeah, I think the Thunder are going to be fine in a potential run. They may end up losing. I don't think they're the first round exit that it seems like everybody thinks they are just because they lack experience. There's never been a team this young that has won this amount of games. It's never happened before. So they are ready to defy expectations. They have been all season. And yeah, I mean, I've seen what this team can do all year. I think they've got a real chance to make the conference finals and could be one of the toughest outs out of anybody. So yeah, I'm not buying into the whole lack of hype that some people have given this squad. I am, a fan of them, but I think people are underestimating this team a lot.
Just going to throw this out there. Josh Giddey's also been really good.
He has been good. Randomly became good partway through the season. He was terrible all year. And now all of a sudden he's remembered how to play basketball, which is big for the Thunder. Okay. The Golden State Warriors now, early exit, no chance, if you ask me.
I kind of agree. They have been playing better basketball as of late. I remember when the Rockets were kind of creeping up and Draymond's like, oh, we don't care about the Rockets. And then it got like really, really close in the standings. And the Rockets lost a couple in a row and the Warriors have looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you, man. There's just way too much going on there. Or maybe rephrase it. There's not enough going on there that kind of that like excites me. They just really haven't been playing that well this year. Klay Thompson's all over the place. Draymond is either ejected or or just not really moving the needle. Wiggins is kind of falling off. Kuminga has been inconsistent. And Steph, like, you hate to say this about like one of the legends, but like Steph's kind of taking a step back a little bit, I feel like. He's
still it's hard really to tell whether it's because he's like taking a big step back or it's because he hasn't had a lot of help and he's been trying to shoulder a load and everything.
Yeah.
I just don't think Steph's got enough in the tank right now to take them on a deep run to help them turn this thing around. It's going to have to come from Klay and, Podziemski and Kuminga and Wiggins, all these guys that have had their moments this year, but have been a bit inconsistent. I just don't think there's enough consistency on this roster. If the season ended today, I think the Kings probably beat them in a playing game, although it could be close. I don't know if they're going to beat the Lakers or the Pelicans in a playing game either. I think the Warriors probably end up missing the playoffs. They could sneak in, but as an 8 seed, they're getting trounced by Denver. It's not even close. So as much as I, would like to see the Warriors go on one last run, like have one last gasp, I think it's just kind of over for the team as currently constructed, and they'll go into an offseason where there's a lot of question marks.
I agree.
For the Lakers, I think I put them in could make noise. I think this is a team that could pull off an upset in the first round if they get the right matchup. They're close, like they're pushing higher up the standings. If they found a way to, like, if say Minnesota is still dealing with injuries and like Cat isn't back, I think it could be interesting. Mainly, I think the Lakers just have a much better chance at winning a first round series than a team like the Warriors or the Kings out there in the Western Conference at the moment. I definitely don't think they're contenders at this point. They've been looking more of the part than they have over the past, rest of the season. But I don't think the Lakers are gonna make another run again like they did last year.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I think they're actually closer to the contender tier than the could make noise tier, simply because they have LeBron and AD, and I just think those two in the playoffs, with hopefully some other guys playing a little bit better than they have been, could make a run. Like, because last year everyone was like, nah, the Lakers aren't doing anything. They're not going to make a run. And I'm going to put it here. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I was big on the Lakers making a run last year, and they did. And I would not be shocked at all if they did it again. I just think when you have LeBron and AD and you have players like D'Lo, even Rui recently, Austin Reeves, like these guys have high ceilings, and if they're clicking and playing well, it can be a really solid team. And just like, am I taking Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, or am I taking LeBron and AD? It's just like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I do
counterpoint. The Lakers coach is Darvin Ham.
That is a great point, but we also put the Bucks in the contenders tier, and their coach is Doc Rivers.
That's okay. We'll fair,
we can keep the Bucks that could make noise tier, but I do think that they are closer to the contender tier than they are to the early exit tier. I will say that.
Okay, that's fair. And finally, the Orlando Magic. They're interesting to me. I think I'd probably go early exit.
Although it's hard though, man. How do you put a 3 seed in early exit? But I do.
I think we should put them could make noise, mainly because if, like, say they play a beat up Cavaliers or a Knicks team in the first round, they could go to the second round. I'm not putting it out there with the defense that they have. I think they could put up a fight. So you know what? Yeah, let's put them in the could make noise tier. I think the Magic, they're not going to go in a conference finals run. They're still a little bit away. But I think next year, depending on what the team looks like, say they had some shooting, that could be a year where the Magic take a big jump. But for the moment, they're in a good spot to be there. So yeah.
Yeah, I think with Orlando, it's just that they were just healthy pretty much all year, and they were able to play together. So I think that kind of helped them, because I do think if the Knicks and Cavs and the Sixers were healthy all year, they all would have blown past the Magic in the standings. Mm-hmm. So I do think that that's kind of something that they got going for them. So I guess, I mean, like you were kind of saying, if the Magic just happen to beat these teams because they're beat up, we wouldn't be surprised. But they're not going to. Seeing a Magic Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, I think, would be extremely far-fetched. So.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't expect that. But yeah, so this is our tier list. Favorites are the Celtics and the Nuggets. Contenders, teams we think could make like a run to the conference finals, feel pretty confident in their chances to potentially do so, are the Sixers, Bucks, Mavs, Timberwolves, Clippers, and Thunder. Teams that could make some noise are the Cavaliers, Pacers, Suns, Knicks, Pelicans, Heat, Lakers, and Magic. Early exit / no chance are the Hawks, Kings, Bulls, and Warriors. And then the lottery teams are down below there. Yeah, this is our tier list for these playoff teams right now. It's a preview. Again, 1 week away from the playoffs or the regular season actually ending and the bracket being set for the play-in as well as the playoffs outside of that. Yeah, so I think that's all we've got for right now. Where are the Sixers at, Ryan, in their game?
It is a tie game with 3 minutes left in double OT. So as soon as we wrap this up, I'm going to go watch the end.
Okay, cool. We'll go and wrap it up quick then to go ahead and give you that chance. But yeah, that was today's episode. Let us know down below in the comments what you thought of the tier list. What teams would you have moved if you could have moved any of them? And also let us know a little bit about your award picks going forward. Again, there's a week left. The next episode you're probably going to see is going to be like midweek where we make our award picks. And would love to know your opinions on that. We appreciate y'all tuning in as always. I would tell you to comment something if you made it to this point, but we told you to comment a billion things already. So just comment something if you made it to this point in the video. Yeah, we appreciate y'all watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Go ahead and follow us on Spotify too. Download, rate 5 stars if you're listening there. Ryan, you got anything you want to wrap up with?
Do it for Pancake Willie.
Shout out to Pancake Willie. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all later. Peace.